Headphones on, let's do this.
Hey, do you know of a podcast I could listen to that has nerd and comic books and stuff? I really can't find one.
I say, you ever heard of the Nerd Dome podcast?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Nerd Dome Podcast, episode 253. I'm your podcaster without fear, Luke, and today I am joined with...
Hi.
You're the worst. The worst.
Oh, man.
You love making my life easy. It's the best.
It would be much more boring without me. Hello.
And you are?
Oh, here. I'm Uncanny Ryab. Causing chaos.
Hey. And classic Chris Hoffman, by the way, Luke, you've gotten so good at playing guitar and playing drums at the same time.
I know,
that,
I know it's impressive.
That intro is amazing. And
Yeah.
the fact that we're like tip-top podcast with like 1930s or 1920s, like who's the guy who's like, chip, chip, true, what's my favorite podcast? That's pretty great.
Capital idea, sir.
I say.
And I'm the alliterative Andrew.
Hey, thanks everyone for bearing with us on our little spring break that we had there, but we are back, and how you guys been? You guys had a good do anything fun for your spring breaks or lack of spring breaks?
Too much Baldur's Gate.
We discovered what's poppin', Utah.
Oh,
yes.
Yes.
How was
Soon
that?
we will
Certainly.
discover what's locking. And then so the mystery will be fulfilled. And we'll know the
We-
answer.
We were guests from the Nerd Store. Your airlock to awesome, I believe, is the tagline. There's a pop convention in Utah at one of the malls. There's a Utah Art Center that uses one of the old Macy's stores, which used to be the Mervyn's actually when I was little.
Mervyn's. I
It
remember
was
Mervyn's.
Yeah, it's where my mom would always get my pants for me. Was at the Mervyn's. But they had just a pop convention where it was just the Funko Pops, and we showed up and we were doing sketches on it, and was a great time. Found a lot of cool pops. Did a couple of commissions that you can talk to the Nerd Store about getting. But the one of the coolest things was getting to sit next to Adrian Ropp, who's a Disney artist, Archie artist, works on Underdog and
Pink
Pink
Panther.
Panther, Three Stooges, stuff like that. And he's just a delight. And it was fun to sit next to him for a couple of days and getting to swap stories and hear stuff about him working for Disney and stuff. It was really cool.
It's awesome. I don't think we've recorded an episode since the other Tim's thing.
Yes. Tim Odland, our good friend and dear friend that we did who has cancer. We did a benefit at Black Cat Comics in Sugar House, Utah, to help raise money to help him pay for his medical bills. It was a huge success. Sal Valuto, Chad Harden, Adrian Ropp there as well, Bill Galvin, Archie artist, local artists, Natalie Soto, Evan Black from the Wasatch Wonders, Travis Romney for the Mighty Utah, and
Who I know is
Mike,
listening to this episode. Hello, Travis.
Yes, hello, Travis. And Mike, what's Mike's last name?
Lovins.
Mike Lovins.
And Jeff
we
Shoup was
go-
there too.
Yes, Jeff Shoup and Brandon Dayton and Doug Wagner. Everybody, yeah, the night of too many stars really was what it was. But all super great friends of Tim. We at the live event we raised a little over $3,000 for his medical bills. We were able to get attention on the local news from KSL, and KSL advertised his kind of long dormant GoFundMe, which they were asking for $16,000 originally. And before we had the event and we're driving people to it, there was somewhere around $6,000 that had been raised on the GoFundMe, and the last time I checked on it, there was like $14,000 in there.
Oh, awesome.
So he is pretty close to the goal that they had set on there, and so wish it could be under any other circumstances, but
Right.
circumstances being as they are, this is what we could do, and it was a huge help. Been talking to him, got him all of the money so far, and there's still a little bit trickling in because there were some people who bid on artwork that didn't get a chance to pay for it yet, but they're working on that. And we still have pieces that we're going to do an online auction with, and so if you are still interested in helping out, we can get that amount higher. Thanks for everyone who came and participated in the auction and who donated items, and everybody who donated money. It was a really cool thing, and great to see like the comic book community here in Utah come together and take care of one of their own. It was a cool event.
Yeah. Yeah, looking back, I feel like I should have bid on the Swamp Thing and the Rocketeer that he did, because I was like, let me only do, and then I ended up only bidding on the Swamp Thing one, and I was like, I should have done like the whole rest of the day. I was like, I should have done the Rocketeer.
They're good pieces. They were pretty great.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
gorgeous.
It's at a
Gorgeous.
good home.
I got it from my
It's a-
brother. So
Good,
yeah.
good,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, happy birthday, Brad. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I brought Quinn down there, and she had a fun time seeing all you guys. And when we left, because I had introduced Chris, because he had done that commission for her, and when she got back, she was like, "Dad, did he really draw that?" And I was like, "Yeah, he really did."
He doesn't seem like he could. And you're-
Yeah.
And so
And
she
no
got
talent
like
hat.
mildly starstruck after we left, because she thought, she was like, oh, that, like, she misunderstood. She was like, oh, that's the guy that gave it to you. And I was like, well, yes, and he's the one that drew it. And then she's like, oh, he's really good. So
She's very nice, and
Yeah.
I was happy to get her a couple of things there.
Mm,
Shared
yeah.
our fandom of Demon Slayer.
Yeah, the back of her laptop is filled with stickers from you guys, just coated. She
That's
loves
awesome.
it. She loves it. I was reading the Web of Spider-Man that came out a couple of weeks ago, and it's just like teaser trailers for all the different Spider-Man books that are coming out in 2024. And
Is
there's
Uncanny
one.
Spider-Man still coming out?
That's
That's the Nightcrawler one.
Oh, I don't know. Spider-Man wise, I pretty much stick to Amazing Spider-Man, so I don't get bogged down with all of it. I'm just gonna go with this one right here. But then I also pick up the Gwen Stacy ones too for both of us to read. But there is one of the mini stories is again on an alternate planet or alternate Earth where Gwen Stacy is the Green Goblin, and she did not like that. She was like, "No, Gwen is not the Green Goblin, Dad." And it was her first like passionate nerd argument over comics, and I was like, so I was egging her on. I was like, "Yeah, but look, there she is as the Green Goblin." "No, Dad, no." But the cover for Web of Spider-Man is really good. It's a Greg Capullo. So it's very McFarlane-esque, I guess would be a good way to do it. Just kind of the pose he's in is very, very classic McFarlane. But
He's all folded up and the legs are.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's just like hands coming forward and like the rest of his body is kind of behind his head. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. But yeah, seeing her get worked up over Gwen not being her Gwen, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you'll run into this a lot. Just keep reading. But there is something that a show that has come out that has been pretty good, and we have yet to talk about it. So we're just gonna jump right in and talk about our thoughts of the first 5 episodes of X-Men '97.
There's been 5?
There's been 5.
Just kidding.
I know, because you're the one that wakes up at 1 a.m. just to
No.
make sure.
No. Yeah.
No. Yeah, I just make sure it's up, and then I go back to bed and watch it immediately when I wake up.
You got to know.
Mm-hmm.
So Ryan, you get to start off with this.
I have never had something snap me back into my 10-year-old mind as this did so hard. Like it was instantly the childish joy that I had watching it for the first time. It was a really cool feeling. I'd never had something do that like that before.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my one quick thing to say.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. The art is really good. The story's really good. The voice, hearing those voices again are fun. Rogue's voice is so her, but just older. It's so interesting. It's so interesting to people's voices change over time. Yeah, I love what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. What about you guys? What are your initial thoughts before we dive in and break it down a little more?
It looks better than the original show by a wide margin. The nostalgia bat is swinging really hard. I like seeing all the characters. I liked pausing it and picking out all the characters I recognize in the background as shots, that sort of thing. It's fabulous. I've seen all the episodes 3 times now. Watched them on my own with Kirsten, and then today with Natalie in preparation for this. And I wanted to get their perspective because they didn't watch the old show, and I wanted to see, and they don't know a ton about the X-Men, and so I wanted to get like, well, how does this fare to like a fresh audience? And we'll get to their thoughts on episode 5 when we get there.
Okay.
Chris?
I don't watch TV.
Oh.
Did you watch the original series?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A little. That's the other thing about this is that I need to watch it as someone who like I liked it, but it wasn't like, oh my God, the X-Men are on. You know what I mean? Like that was quite liked it, and everything I've read about it says that they've treated it with care, which is really nice. And so it seems like other people who are rebooting franchises could take a few notes from the experience. It seems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't think I've heard an official announcement on it, but there are reports out there of them with how big this X-Men revival has been about reviving the old Spider-Man series as well. I think it was just called Spider-Man. I don't think it had anything.
Revive Spectacular Spider-Man. That was an amazing show. I really liked that one. It was also Web of.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I think that would be cool too, because I remember watching it there when they first crossed over some of those Spider-Man episodes with some X-Men. I was like, they exist together. And Marvel's all about that now, so it makes sense. Yeah, no, I've been loving it. I've been watching it with my daughter, who's been second I walk in the door on Wednesday, she's like, Dad, come on. I was like, let me set my stuff down. We got to eat dinner. No, we can watch it while dinner's cooking. I'm like, oh, all right. So we've been going really, really hard on it. One thing I want to kind of I guess we'll get into the actual, like, the episodes and stuff like that. The animators who did that work on this series in that first episode must have watched Cyclops from the Marvel versus Capcom games, because all of those moves that he does in the fight against the Friends of Humanity, or that's who they were, right?
Yes.
Or affiliated, but like the using his optic blast to scoot back and the blocking with his hand and blasting someone in the face. I'm like, those are all moves from the arcade game. And this is amazing, because really he only did three things in the original series when he was fighting, which was, controlled blasts, take the glasses off and blast like crazy, or his glasses get knocked off and he's trying to find them. Those were really his battle moves in the entirety of the original X-Men cartoon. So they did right by him, especially in those first two episodes, than they did in any of the other ones.
Yeah, you got to make him really cool for what he ends up doing later.
Yeah.
So the thing is, nobody has been more. I feel like in comic book fandom, nobody has been more mistreated over the years than Cyclops fans. The movies were just like, you like Cyclops, go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna bring him in. He's an asshole the entire time, and then when they get to the point, they kill him off screen. How disrespectful, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when I saw this, it was like, and the thing is, this goes back to that thing, that bit where Eddie Murphy used to talk about, if you didn't have sex for a really long time, having it was like mind blowing, and he said it was like if you were starving to death and then you got a saltine cracker, you'd be like, oh my God, nom, nom, nom. You'd enjoy every bite of it. And you'd be like, did you get me a Ritz? You didn't have to get me a Ritz. That's amazing. So any like positive treatment of Cyclops in any media, and you see all of the fans go absolutely nuts, and good for them. Hooray. Mm-hmm. I'm so happy you got something.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is what it's like. And yes, I enjoy every second of it. I liked the using the optics blast to land in superhero pose. That was pretty cool. The
internet would aflame with everybody being like, he couldn't have done that. His neck would have broken. I'm like, it's almost like he's a mutant or something.
Yeah, you know, it's a comic book cartoon, right? Yeah.
I've been loving it. Well, I guess, Ryan, what are your first? Because I guess the first episode was, the first two episodes were just the fight against the Friends of Humanity, right?
Yeah,
and it was Master Mold.
Yeah. So it ends in the first episode. It ends in it's the fight against the Friends of Humanity, and then they end up in the field of sentinels, of zombie sentinels. Mm-hmm. And then there's such good lines in this that just channel the 90s essence. Like the in the opening scene when Cyclops is doing all the dancing stuff that you described, he with his optic blast, he squeezes in the word not, just like in the first episode of the pilot. Yep. And very 90s. And then at one point he calls Storm up when they're fighting the Sentinels, and it looks like, oh, things aren't going so well, and he just gets on his comm and he goes, Storm, give him the forecast. And then she just launches into her awesome narration and monologue.
And it does the Omega level mutant detected.
Yeah. Like awesome. She's walking through the desert and lightning's turning the sand to glass. And it's just so cool.
The animation is just so good.
It's so much better than the old show.
There's far less coloring mistakes. Like their colors,
Right,
their uniform colors stay the same the whole episode.
My daughter keeps having trouble with the way they color Cyclops' hair because she's like, is it red or is it brown? I'm like, sure. I'm like, it's most of the time in the comics it's brown, but in the cartoon it is kind of that rust color. So she has a very hard time with the reds and the browns and the hairs like Gambit, Rogue, Jean, Cyclops. She's like, they're all just almost the same. And I was like, yeah, I mean, kind of. That's fair. But yeah. So it was the storm lighting up the Sentinels.
The first two episodes are like a part 1, part 2 kind of thing. It's very much an introduction, a reintroduction to the characters, kind of where they are, kind of what's happened, like a little bit of what's happened so far, and alluding to stuff that's happened kind of behind the scenes. So it was really well done, just fun, like we're back kind of moment, and kind of like a greatest hits formula of the old show. And it's like, so this is where we're gonna start, and then it goes in the future episodes. Very fast paced episodes.
Can we talk about Eric with his sultry hips when he first changes into his new costume?
Yeah,
because
he
that
definitely
guy
shows off his physique and that ab V line in his costume there.
He's very
I believe
fit for a man in his early hundreds.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Right. When he's like half leaning on the desk, I think he's talking to the team, but he's definitely popping that hip out there. Just like slightly. I was like, are you trying to seduce all the X-Men, Eric? Because I think it's working.
He talks about Professor X's lips a lot too around the same time. So I mean, they've got they got good energy.
Subtext.
I'm pretty sure I took a picture of the screen and was like, all right, Eric, calm down. But yeah, and then third episode was that that wasn't the Jubilee one. That was episode 4.
Right. That's the Goblin Queen is episode 3.
Right. Which that was a nice tidy bow that they popped on that in 25 minutes. I was
Right.
like,
You don't
wow,
need an inferno. Here you go.
They did it all.
Yeah.
And I kind of figured it wasn't going to be a 2-part episode when Madeline went from Jean to Madeline in like 0.6 seconds in her room after she doesn't like science. I was like, wow, that was quick. That was I mean, you get the, like, listen, it's the Cliff Notes version. But like, you get it. And I enjoyed it also. Like, I think that was one of the first ones where the animation of like the effects, like her the fire and Magneto's there it is. Magneto's magnet powers and stuff like that were really on display. And also when Morph turns into magic.
Both Magic and Darkchild. Yeah.
Yeah. It was
great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And my daughter got excited about that. She was like, magic's in this too? And I was like, it's Morph, but kind of.
It would be really neat. It would be another dream to have this somehow spin off into a parallel series of New Mutants, because we got Sunspot, and now they've plopped in a little magic cameo at the end of the last cartoon. Cannonball was in an episode, so I mean, they might.
Boom Boom was in the background.
Oh yeah, Boom Boom was in Genosha.
Hey, yeah, and well, hey, Boom Boom was back in the original series too, in that really crappy Cyclops spinoff episode with Richter.
With Richter, and was Skids in there too, or was it just Richter?
Yeah, Skids was in there. Yep, Skids was in there too. Yep. When he goes up against Kilgrave for some reason.
It's funny. My boyfriend recognizes Boom Boom on sight, but can never remember her name. So it generally comes out.
She's got the
bubblegum.
fashion. Bubblegum?
Bubblegum.
That's amazing. Yeah, man. Boom Boom's a fashion icon. All right.
Mhm.
A
Did
lot of pink. A lot of pink.
Yep. Yeah, so that episode was really good. Again, condensed as hell for
hit
that
all
story.
It hit all the good story beats, but man, it went fast. Because that's like I don't know how long that was like one of the longest crossovers ever. At least it felt like it. Like that was going on for years. And then
Yeah,
they
the
just, like,
Madeline stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
yeah, it wasn't quite the build up that it was in the comics, which is fine, brevity and
Sure.
all. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Yeah, I don't need to learn every terrible thing Scott will do
Right.
now that he's got 2 genes. Yeah.
I will say, because we also got Mr. Sinister in this episode, and I was talking to one of my buddies who said that he imagines Mr. Sinister as Tim Curry from the 80s, and I'm just like, I'm on board with that. If they could do retroactive
style makeup on him.
right,
the top of
right,
it.
Tim
Yeah.
Curry, like especially with the laugh, a Tim Curry Mr. Sinister laugh would just be the best.
Mhm.
But yeah, we got a little bit of that, and then we got the Scott Dad of the Year moment, which is just slightly better
Cracks me
than
up.
the comic book Dad of the Year
I
moment.
laughed out
Um,
loud.
'cause in the
And it was
comics,
just
he-
that-
Yeah, in the comics, he just leaves them. He's just like, "Real Gene's back, Madeline. I'm gonna go check that out. I'll call you," and
and
just
he never does.
Never
off.
comes back. Yeah.
But in this, he goes on this very passionate rant about not wanting to leave his child, and he doesn't want him to grow up without his father like he did. And they come up with this plan to save him, and he's, "I want no part of this," and walks out of the room.
Promptly abandoned his child.
And I'm like, but that's just because you're not giving your input in a decision doesn't mean you're not doing it, Scott. Come on. You had 2 solid episodes. Ah.
He shares his real Cyclops colors.
Ugh. But
Red.
listen, honestly, that was good. That was probably a better way to do it than abandon them in Alaska.
Sure.
To the Marauders.
Right. Bye. Real Gene's back now. Bye.
So when do you think? So animated series timeline wise, when do you think the genes got swapped? That seems to
Ooh.
be a plot point that they're alluding to about like when did this actually happen?
I don't know. I can't say via their timeline.
hmm
But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I think that it was. I think it was in season 1 or early season 2, but when Sinister captured them all, and then got
Was that
Scott-
after the wedding? Or
No,
no, that's when they were out on that date.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was before the wedding. So I think it was then. I think Madeline's been there that whole time. That means that Madeline would have been the Phoenix. Madeline was the one that married Scott.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll never tell us.
One of my I think they will. I think that's going to be a plot point that they might be figuring out. One of my friends at work was like, I was starting to get confused about how to tell them apart, and I was like, oh, there's a really easy way. Jean wears her hair in a ponytail. Madeline wears her hair
Madeline
down
does not.
every time.
They even pointed that out. That also another thing is they change the intro slightly every time. And if you notice after that episode, when they do the Jean thing, she's got her hair in the ponytail. But in the first couple episodes, her hair's down like Madeline.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Easter eggs I've missed even on 3 viewings. There's a lot of
There's
you
so much,
notice?
especially when you get to Genosha. You're like, hold on,
Oh.
pause.
Yeah. Did you notice in the first episode all the street sign names?
No.
Mm-mm.
They're all prolific X-Men creators.
Oh,
Like
that's
every
awesome.
street sign name is somebody's name that had a large impact in the history of X-Men. It was I'm like, oh, that's really cool.
That's
That's
awesome.
One thing. So then the next one was the Jubilee episode.
Yes.
Jubilee and Roberto. My favorite thing about this episode is when the original voice actress for Jubilee did the voice of old Jubilee
Mhm.
with the new voice actress. I thought that was awesome because, and she had a very solid reason for not voicing Jubilee. She's like, I'm not of Asian descent, so maybe we should get someone of Asian descent to play this character. And then I think she does like 3 or 4 other voices throughout the series, just
Yeah.
not Jubilee. But I thought that was awesome. My daughter hates Mojo.
Why?
Like she's like, when we were watching the original one, she's like, he's disgusting, Dad. And because one time I was watching the original Blade movie, and there's the big fat vampire in the room that he kills. And she was like, do you remember that one vampire superhero movie you were watching that one time? That's what I think Mojo would look like in real life. And I don't like that. And I was like, okay, that's fair. And then she was even more weirded out about Skinny Mojo.
That didn't last.
No,
Skinny
it's not.
Mojo's great.
But yeah, what'd you think of that episode?
It was good. It was another good callback. I really liked because that X-Men arcade game that they kind of like channeled.
It's over there.
Yes, I love that game. That's a lot of. It was at Lagoon, I remember, and I remember playing that a lot when we were at Lagoon, and that was like the big one where you could have all 6, 7. I can't remember
There's
how
8.
many. 8.
No, there's 6 characters. You're
6,
right.
yeah.
You're right. It's 6. Yep.
Where you could have all 6 instead of just the 4, and I loved that game, and I would sink so many quarters into it. And then I remember the one year I don't know if it was a party or for my birthday, but we were here
On
years ago,
Xbox?
and I bought it for the Xbox, and then my dream came true in that I had everybody playing it, and we beat it. And that was
fun.
So, the channeling that, and also like the again another kind of recap thing, because they went back to the original Genosha, or the Genosha in the old previous seasons, and like kind of like what happened there, and kind of did like another kind of recap kind of thing. And yeah, the fleshing out of Bobby Sunspot's character, the romance between Sunspot Jubilee is interesting. And I like that Sunspot is the new kind of point of view character, because that was Jubilee's role in the first part. And then
he's new
even in the
Jubilee.
credits, yeah, he's the new Jubilee. And even in the credits, they have him running up to the fence, like in that scene where Jubilee has every time. And I thought that was cool. But yeah, Jubilee using her powers in different ways, that was really neat. I really like firework discs, saw blades, whatever that was. That was really cool.
I excuse me. I liked that when they started to play the video game, that was obviously a Sega Genesis that they put the game into. What'd they call it? Like a Motendo or some a Motendo. And I was like, that's obviously a Sega Genesis, guys. Come on. Don't give Nintendo any love on that. But what about the little bonus episode that you got at the end of that one with Forge and Storm?
Yeah, I like the setup for the fall of the mutants we're getting.
Mm-hmm. How much do you think they're going to do the adversary stuff, Andrew? Because that gets a little wild.
So I had read
They'll
that
do
that
it in
was-
one episode.
I had read that story was originally going to be a Jasper's Warp, like from the old Captain Britain comics,
Mm-hmm.
and that it was he was going to merge with the Fury, and he's going to have Roma prisoner like the adversary was. So just replace the adversary with Jasper's Fury. And so that's they kind of did. Claremont kind of rehashed a bunch of that in Die by the Sword,
Mm-hmm.
the that crossover. But yeah, the original Fall of the Mutant stuff was supposed to be like with the Inferno was supposed to be like a Jasper's Warp and all that.
Oh.
Do you
So
think they're gonna?
I don't know. Yeah, sorry. Getting back
Go
to
ahead,
Ryan's question.
Go ahead.
Yes, I think they're probably going to do a Fall of the Mutants thing, and they end up in the
Mhm.
Outback.
Mm.
Yeah. It feels like they're really walking towards that, even though we got a little Grant Morrison-y here in episode 5.
Mm-hmm. Siege Perilous, you think? There's so many different things that they can pull from this era that are just so wacky.
Man, I don't put it past them, but it was like, now we're gonna explain this.
in 10 seconds.
How do you think they're going to go about repowering Storm?
I wonder if they'll do an extinction agenda with Hodge as the spy. No, because Hodge already came back as a Phalanx, right?
Yeah, he
Didn't
was
say?
in that
Okay.
Phalanx episode.
Yeah, so that's probably not going to. I don't know. That's an excellent question. I wonder if they'll douse her in chemicals and hit her with lightning and see if that helps.
Right.
Flash style.
It was Loki the whole time.
Storm as Thor would be fun. Oh, I'd love an Asgardian Wars.
Because they can do it.
'Cause
And then we can get Valkyrie Danny too.
Don't tempt
Don't tease me.
That's not gonna happen. Just,
It's not, but
yeah.
yeah. Okay, and so now I guess we can talk about the latest episode. So the return to Genosha, and I believe the first words out of my mouth when this episode started was, "Hey, Trish Tilby."
That's exactly what I said.
And then it was like, look at Beast all dressed
Mhm.
nice. He's got an ascot on and everything. Look at
And I
that
was like,
gentleman.
the only thing
Blushing.
I would have changed with that scene is like they needed to have that interview in Coffee a Go Go.
Oh, nice. Deep
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Ryan. So what did you think? How did that go for you?
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not okay.
and I never will be.
That was heart-wrenching. I am very excited to see where they go from here. With such good character voice acting. Like we talked about with the Life Death stuff with the Storm, she just is so packs so much emotion into her voice. And in this too, in the Genosha stuff where it's such a crescendo of like joy and like, wow, we were really this mutant culture that we have, and we're really going to be okay. And then all of that is kind of portrayed in all this really good like voice acting and character exchange. And then this disaster strikes, and it's just so heart wrenching. And then they all just portray it so well. Like I'm very impressed with the writing and the lines, and then the voice acting with all of this too.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Andrew? Sorry.
You're fine. I wasn't expecting them to go like full Genosha massacre, but wow.
But then they did.
About halfway through, when it was showing how idyllic it was,
Mm-hmm.
I thought I said out loud, "Is like, oh, they're gonna E for extinction, these bastards." This is gonna be, oh man.
Hold on, is that a Hellfire Gala? Nothing
Yeah.
good comes from that.
No. Yeah. And I was so worried about Nightcrawler. Oh, and
Yeah.
it was heartbreaking when Natalie and I watched it today, like a second before Magneto says goodbye to Leech. Like Natalie turns to me and says, "I hope nothing happens to Leech." And literally like a breath later. Yeah. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. And so thanks to this episode, I will never be forgiven for introducing them to Leech and then robbing them of him.
So listen, you just lean into it and buy them a Leech shirt for their birthday. Just lean all the way into it.
Leech was right. Magneto's right, sure.
Right.
It's in green. Yeah.
I did like some of the Magneto was right signs
Mhm.
when the X-Men were flying in. I was like, hey. I liked getting some Emma Frost and Sebastian Shaw just hanging out there.
So I had a little my one thing that I kind of like broke a moment for me was regardless of whether Madeline was the Phoenix or not, she has those memories. And I'm like, what is she doing so calmly in a room with these people that
Right.
did that to her? Like that had the whole Dark Phoenix thing and manipulated her and caused her to and instigated her going like just off the rails. And nothing, no hints of exchange or the animosity or anything. They're just like, oh, it's fine now. That one, I didn't like that part, but
that was months ago, darling. What did
I'm
you?
impressed that they managed to knock out Sebastian Shaw, given how his powers work.
Right.
Yeah.
What did you think of the? One thing that I like also to see. I know back to Cyclops was seeing him show a little emotion when he was getting interviewed.
Mhm.
Which is definitely a big break from that character in the animated series. He's very just, by the rules. The only time he gets mad is when they run into Bobby in the original series because he left the team. But seeing him kind of like speak his mind when he's talking about like when she's
When
like,
he's-
I just
when
want
he's
to.
threatening the reporter that was trying to help him.
Yeah, but at least it was, it was emotion, like it was like raw emotion. And then the stuff with I wanted to get your thoughts on that too, this Ryan, the stuff with Madeline in the astral plane.
yeah. So it was really interesting how they did that. So what the scene is like you were looking at it's just a normal scene of Scott and Jean discussing their kid and the kind of the loss that they have because they had to send him to the future to save him, so they likely will never see him again as far as they can think. And then like another Jean intrudes and says, "Excuse us, Madeline," and then you realize that it was Madeline, the one that was posing as Jean, and then you're like, oh, this is just kind of deceptive. Nope, Scott knew. And so it's like, oh, they're kind of like having a little, it definitely felt the vibes of an affair kind of thing.
Yeah, but he's
Which is-
married to Madeline.
Yeah,
though?
but is he married to Madeline? Like, we don't know. This is super
We
weird
don't
and
know.
complicated, like X-Men.
Well, she's the one he had a kid with. They know
Yes.
that.
Right.
much.
Yeah.
Right. I did like the line he said where he's like, what you saw is grief. I'm dealing
Yeah.
with grief with the loss of my son. And I was like, that's valid. Like,
Mhm.
okay. But she also has a point.
It's super complicated. All the emotions are valid.
Isn't that something that Cyclops and Emma?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
isn't
a
that
scene
the-
from the Grant Morrison run?
Yeah.
Right.
so
That's
yeah.
yeah.
In the Grant Morrison run, Emma and Cyclops are having a psychic affair behind Jean's back. And so that was really interesting that it was Madeline and Scott kind of
Did
it felt that way,
Yeah,
but then Emma
yeah.
was like in the background being like,
yeah.
after
yeah,
she gets
sure.
kicked out of Scott's brain.
Yeah, when she was like, I was just, lost for a moment there. And she goes, sure you are. little smile in corner of mouth. I don't know if that was just a nod to
Hmm.
the comics version or if there's more to that, but I don't know. I like Emma Frost, so seeing her more would be nice, but we'll see how they play it. But yeah, okay, so kind of to the big thing, Ryan, the thing that you're not okay with.
As, so the scene plays. So the Sentinels like are just the one Sentinel. It's the I can't remember. Is it the Tri-Sentinel?
Wild Sentinel, I think
Wild
they were
Sentinel?
in the Grant Morrison.
Yeah. It has like the 3 faces and is a giant bug thing, and it's just decimating everybody. You're seeing everybody get like wiped out. All the laser beams, people are getting incinerated. And the only ones that are on the island that are like core X-Men characters, tons and tons of cameos in the background this whole time. But you got Rogue and Gambit and Magneto and Nightcrawler are kind of like the main X-Men centric characters that are there. The rest of the team's back at the mansion doing the interview stuff. And and then Madeline's there, and the Rogue and Gambit, they've just kind of broken up, because Rogue has feelings for Magneto, and then Rogue decides, well, actually, no, I should probably be with Gambit. But Gambit doesn't know that yet. They blast off to go try to stop the Sentinel. Magneto's trying to protect people and trying to stop the Sentinel. And then Cable pops up. That was an emotional scene.
Mhm.
Cable's there, presumably trying to stop it, but then ends up being too late. We don't really know what's going on. There's a whole sub story going on in the background about Jean's having premonitions and Cable coming back from the future. But such a great scene where Cable walks up to Madeline and like, you've got to get out of here. And then Madeline recognizes him with his eyes, being like, oh, you did make it. You did survive. Recognizing that it's her son. And then he goes, I'm sorry, Mom. And then gets yanked back to wherever. So such a good scene there. Jennifer Hale does a really good job. Since Jean is one of my very favorite characters, and that's the animated series is a big reason for that. I'm a little sad that it's not the original voice actor, but Jennifer Hale does a fantastic job.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then Magneto's trying to protect everybody. That's what the background of my image is he's getting blasted by Sentinels, and he has a little shield up. And then Rogue gets blasted, and then Gambit decides to go in and save the day. And it's so sad.
Yeah, that was again watching it with my daughter. She was more worried about Nightcrawler being okay
Sure.
throughout the whole thing, because she loves Nightcrawler. And the way they portrayed him in that was just fun. And Ryan's just a glutton for punishment with his background images here. But and then with the scene with Gambit getting impaled by a Sentinel arm and then igniting the whole thing to blow it up and save the day whilst killing himself, the first thing she said was, he'll be back, right? He'll be back. And I was like, I don't guess we're gonna have to keep watching. To this day, like 3 days straight now, she's like, he'll be back, right? He's gonna be back. He'll be back. And I was like,
the one hope is,
show.
and I think the one hope that they intended to give the audience is like Cable popped up, so time travel shenanigans are going to be happening.
Mm-hmm.
So that is maybe something will happen that will change. But
They're going to rob us of the consequences of this episode.
oh, sure, it's X-Men.
And they'll do it 2 episodes later, so it'll only sync for 2 weeks. But I have a coworker who he likes the comic book stuff, but I came in today and he was like, bro, I cried at a cartoon. And I was like, yeah, man. And I pointed out to him, one of the things that I loved about this was the music was great, but it was those scenes where there wasn't any music. like when the music stopped, like when Magneto is protecting Leech and the Morlocks, and he's got Rogue and Gambit in that little metal cocoon that he made for him to keep them safe. There's no music that plays during that whole time. And then the same thing with Gambit, when the thing's lighting up, there's no music. It's just the animation. But then also there's like when Gambit busts in to save the Morlocks, it's playing the theme song as he does it very heroically. They did a very good job of knowing when to not play music in this. I thought it was all that, along with the animation of like the people getting vaporized and just stuff exploding and falling. Magneto not getting knocked into the Charles Xavier statue that then goes and crushes a whole lot of mutants. I was like, wow, yeah, they are going all out on this one.
When this happened in the comics, it wasn't this graphic. They didn't show you the on the ground stuff that was happening. This is one of those few cases where the cartoon is more brutal than the comic was.
Right. Oh man. It's good. Tomorrow we get a new episode from when we're recording this, so we'll see how that goes. But I had a lot more things to talk about, but where we're at,
Sorry.
This is fine. I will just roll all of the other things over to the next week because we have been talking and Chris has been waiting patiently. He sent over this really cool industry side of comic story that I wanted to go over. So go ahead, Chris.
Hey, I'm still here. Yeah, I'm going to make a supercut of me listening patiently. It'll be a time lapse, 30 seconds long of me being like, yeah, quite. You know, it's fun. I actually just get to listen to the podcast this week, which is cool. So in other comics news, see, it doesn't work when I say. There we go.
I totally missed it.
It doesn't work when I do it. That's the thing.
Is that my secondary mutation?
Try it again. Try it again.
Right. Okay. Yeah. In other news. There it goes.
I gotta do it, guys.
Yay! See, you get to be the passenger now. I'm driving. No, but they had industry trade group for comic book store owners, Comics Pro, had released their results of a comics retailer survey that they had done, and the results are super interesting on here. We talked before about some releases of numbers. Comic book sales have up until about 2 years ago were really easy to keep track of for the last 20 years because all comic books that went to comic book stores went through one distributor, went through Diamond, right? And so it was really easy to keep track of that. About 2 years ago, DC went rogue and decided to go and do their own distribution, which always works out well, which is why all the comic book companies always do that. Sarcasm marker there. It never goes well. And so it threw the comic books industry into like, we don't know what sales numbers are anymore. But we do know a lot of the feelings, as in we saw that during the pandemic that prices for comics, old and new, suddenly skyrocketed. There was a lot of demand for graded and variant covers. Original art went up. The rise of whatnot, that sort of thing. So, but we had, and so that's been coming down, regressing back to the mean. We saw about a 30% jump up in sales during the pandemic, year over year, and then in this last year, been seeing people saying that the sales have been down. Talking to our retailer friends, Greg over at Black Hats and the Charles and Roger from Dr. Volt's and the Nerd Store, they said that their sales have also been going down. But this retailer survey put some actual like numbers to it. There are wide gaps of numbers in one thing. Mm-hmm. So one thing to preface with this is a self-reported survey. So there are like feelings mixed into this. You know what I mean? Like, are there? You're getting what somebody is saying is happening. Do I really think that there are comic book stores out there that keep perfect books and know where sales were in 2019 and where they are now. I believe that. Are there a whole bunch of them who have a vague idea of it? Yes, I believe that's it too. And there are a bunch of them that have no idea. They're freaking out because they see sales going down. That's true too. So just keeping in mind that this is a survey. So what they found is that according to the survey, graphic novel sales and periodical sales were down, but ranging from 1 to 50%. I don't know what sort of like assumptions you can make across the country of what that means. But there were a lot of stores that said their numbers were up, and that retailers are, and you see this across the board, they're evolving to meet the new demands of customers. And so, as you can see in Ryan's background there, that it is not just most stores have opened themselves up to selling merchandise that is adjacent to comic books or comic book related, because there are people who come in who like the movies, not interested in the comics, but they're interested in vinyl pop figures or action figures, fig pins and stuff. There are people who do entire collections about comic book stuff, comic book related things, and don't own a single comic book. As a matter of fact, going to that pop convention that we went to, 2 different people bought comic books from us and said, I've never bought a comic book in my life, but I'm interested now, you know what I mean, which was kind of cool. So what does that actually mean? I don't know. I think it means that I think it means that the constant bell ringing of the death of comics is still not here. You know what I mean? For 80 years, they've been going out of business, and this is another year where it's probably not going to go out of business. They found out that a lot of the stores have a single storefront, 80% of them. So vast majority of them is a store that just has one store. Most of them are independent businesses and family owned. So what that means is that if you go and look at your local comic book store, if the person has been running that store for 20, 30 years, maybe they're not that interested in keeping running it for the next 10 to 20, right? Like some of those people are getting to the point, running a comic book store ruins your back. You know what I mean? Back issues give you back issues because you're carrying around the giant boxes all day. So what's going to happen with that? There's a whole bunch of people who are aging out of the store running business, right? Vast majority of people are white, so awesome. But huge inroads. I think there are like really inroads that are being made with minority with minority readers, and that's a testament to the diversity that is being showcased in comic books. And I think it's a strength. It is certainly not a weakness. I don't think. And when you're actually looking at the numbers, when you hear people who are angry, where they're like, it's all, these people, it's all dames who are taking over comic books and stuff like that.
People are saying that.
The
People are
dames.
saying, all the 1950s, comic book people are saying these. They're saying terrible things. I'm being jokey about it. You know what I mean? Don't go onto Twitter ever. But if you're ever interested, go onto Twitter and see what these people are saying about this stuff. And it is, and it's misidentified problems because, according to the retailers survey, 11% of the retailers identify as female or non-binary, and 10% of the retailers identify as LGBTQ. So there's not this massive takeover where people are being shoved out of it. You know what I mean? Where people are like, "Oh, I'm being completely shoved out of comics by 10%." You know what I mean?
Oh, we lost you, Chris.
Oh no, we lost Chris audio. Oh no! Quick, Ryan!
Oh no, he's pretending like
Oh no! Oh
I'm
no!
still muted, Chris.
Oh, he's completely broke. He was on a roll too.
Hey, you're back.
Well, maybe. Nope.
Nope.
Nope, not yet. Oh man. I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for the microphone to come through when he's like mid curse, and that's when it's gonna pop in. Um, quick, and also now is when we can talk about how much we love Star Wars and how they do nothing wrong, and it's probably the best franchise ever created because we don't have Chris to assault us verbally in a very gentle manner. Obviously, I heard a click.
Check anything?
Yes, you're
Anything.
there. You're very quiet.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry here. This was let's try that. Check, check, 1, 2. Anything
That's
better?
there you go.
Yes, I
Yeah.
can hear you, Clem.
Okay.
Fandango.
All right, as I was saying, I'm sorry about that. They
Chris via
yes,
AM radio.
absolutely ridiculous. So they yeah, so when most people just want to see some representation in their comics, it's not being taken over. And even if it was, great, do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's for everybody. 54% of retailers reported gross sales of $300,000 or less in 2023. So you have to understand how small of a market this is. You know what I mean? This is it is a tiny little market, and it's a testament to the people who are diehard fans who come in and support it. 18% of retailers reported gross sales over $1 million, but yeah, 69% nice of reported lower gross sales in 2023 than 2022, and that's fair. It is 100% that it's going to be down, but it is, and I 54% of comic stores said that they reported lower sales in 2023 than 2019. That means that 46% reported higher sales, right, than 2019. 2019 was before the sugar rush, and so we should see sales up from that or just a little bit down from it because of the problems in inflation and the purchasing power of money right now. So the big thing on here was everybody saying that 73% of shops said that sales of new comics was down 73 in 73% of comic shops in 2023 versus 2022. Again, that's kind of to be expected. I want to see the trend line on this in 2 or 3 years, and see where that actually is. But I have also been seeing people on Whatnot saying that they are seeing a very soft market right now. Variant covers that would usually go for $30-$40 are going for between $9 and $17. And so I've seen some people who are just taking a straight up break for the next 2-3 months because summer's showing up, and that's when people are going to go out do outside activities, which is not necessarily comics and Magic cards and Pokemon cards, right? So it's interesting to see this. You know what I mean? It's another data point to show, but on the other side of things, I don't know that I've ever seen so many announcements from publishers as in the last 2 months of things that they're doing to juice sales. You saw the new Red Band comics from Marvel are coming out, so it's going to be a new adult line. It's like their Vertigo series, kind of. It's going to be adult comics. Their first,
they had Max for that.
they
They're not
did.
doing Max anymore.
They're not. They are doing Max with 2 X's with the Sam Keith. No, not the same one. Sam and Max? No. They had no, this one is going to be new poly-bagged books. They're like, you don't get to read this without a warning that says this is not for children. And I think I saw that the first title for it's going to be a Werewolf by Night title.
Has
So
Marvel made an adult themed book anywhere close to the quality of a Vertigo book?
no, that's what I was going to say. It's not going to be a quality. I think this just they want to show balls in it or something. You know what I mean?
You just
I don't know what that means.
You open up to the 3rd page and Werewolf by Night snorting a line of coke off the hood of a Cadillac.
I was
You're
going
like,
to say,
oh, okay, we're going for it.
Cadillac. No, this is they want to do it's off of the hiney of a hooker. That's I mean, push it into a spot. You know what I mean? But it could be a stunt. Maybe it's cool. Who knows? But they are trying things. You know what I mean? The amount of variant covers, the amount of crossover talent from books and TV and movies. even more than before. But then all these people who are going out and doing their own Kickstarters. So it feels like it's the same amount of money that's rolling around the same in this industry, just in different places right now. But
yeah, no. And I'll put a link to that full article, because there's some more interesting stuff there. I wish I would have been able to grab one of the brothers Prows to come in on this, because that would be a whole entire episode. They would just dive into it, but I'll link that in the show notes. So if anyone wants to go in and check it out, they totally can. I just had one comic I wanted to talk about. I picked up Fantastic Four number 19 of the newest run. It's called The Perfect Storm, and it is the whole book. I'd say about 95% of the book is set up like an old noir film with Detective Alicia Masters and Sue coming into the private eye firm saying that she's lost her boyfriend and she needs some help getting him back. And it's like a sleuthy private eye thing. And they don't really have powers in it. They're just kind of normal people. The only color that's in it is red. So it's black, white, and red is the way the first 80-90% of the book is. And then you get colors. There's some stuff with Cosmic Cube and Trapster and stuff like that. So it's really interesting. I have been reading this series, and I have loved all of it. Ryan North is doing a great job with these stories. The Alex Ross covers are Alex Ross covers, so they're gorgeous. But yeah, and then even in the issue before this, they come up with new and interesting ways for mostly Sue to use her powers. And you're just like, wow, Sue could kill everybody. like she could just kill everybody like at one time. And they really kind of like are leaning into that. And they're like, did you know Sue could do that? And she's like, I didn't know I could do it until I tried. It's like building a dome over the earth to stop asteroids. She could just do that. It takes a lot out of her, but like they make like some weird like laser thing where she makes a construct to funnel Johnny's fire into like a really fine point, and she can shoot it out and blow up things. It's really cool. Like, and again, I love how much attention is being paid to Sue in this run too, because she's awesome, and it's just really cool to see. But that's all I will talk about time constraint wise this time. Anyone else have anyone to talk about before we wrap up?
I will save my review till next week for the sake of brevity.
Okay.
No, sure. Likewise.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Guys, go ahead and plug your stuff.
Velleity Studios is on every major social media platform, posting occasionally banal and well worn ideas and treaded information. Monday nights, 7 p.m. You can find us on Whatnot doing a sketch. If you want a sketch, show up and maybe you'll get a sketch, maybe you'll win a sketch, or maybe you can buy one. And we are going to be at Black Cat Comics in Sugar House, Utah for Free Comic Book Day, Nerd Christmas as it's known here in Utah. So we will be there when the doors open at 11 a.m. and leaving when they kick us out.
Cool. All right. So yeah, that's all we have for you. Thanks for listening, Ryan.
Don't forget to remember it.
Ooh, good. That was really good. I could see the whole time.
No, fuck responsibility.
I don't know what I'm supposed to say here.
Hey, Elijah. Oh, fuck
Bye, guys.
responsibility.
Oh, the French.
That's the yeah, you got it.
All right. Bye, everybody.